My husband demands I show him my coochie so that he can check me for STDs every single week. Disclaimer is not my story time, is sending me on Instagram. Okay, my husband and I have been married for 2 years. Here's a little background info. My husband is like a 6 at best. I'm like a 10. Everywhere we go, I get male attention. I'm always getting looked at or stared at, no matter what I'm wearing, okay? I could be wearing a sweatsuit and people still notice me. My husband claims to never get jealous, but every time I get male attention, he starts saying things like, oh, you look too pretty today. Every now and then he starts complaining about my jewelry or my makeup. A little more background info. When we first got married 2 years ago, we decided to have an open relationship. This was mostly for me because I wasn't as attracted to him as I wanted to be, so sexy time was kind of boring. I would have to literally picture other people in my mind in order to feel anything. And he knew all of this. I actually told him that I wasn't as attracted to him as I wanted to be. After a year, he didn't want to have the open relationship, so I agreed. But then this made him get jealous. Part 2 is up. My husband demands I show him my coochie so that he can check me for STDs every single week. Disclaimer is not my story time, I'm sending me on Instagram. After he told me that he didn't want the open relationship anymore, I agreed. But then this made him become extremely jealous and toxic. Every single Saturday, I had brunch with my friends, my girlfriends. This meant no men allowed. After we stopped the open relationship, he started asking me if he could come with me to brunch. And of course, I'd be like, no. Then he started insisting on going everywhere with me. He became more controlling about the way that I dressed. Even if I wore a little bit too much perfume, he would start saying things like, girl, you're trying to get attention. You need to stop trying so hard. This obviously became a huge problem for us. And this was like 2 weeks after we stopped the open relationship. When I confronted him about it, he told me that he didn't trust me, that I was too good looking, and that men were still trying to get with me. I told him that as long as he wasn't comfortable with the open relationship, that I would never want to do that again. Then he started asking me if I thought about other men. The worst part is he started checking all the messages I sent the guys that I was hooking up with when we were having an open relationship with. This made him even more insecure, because these guys were really good looking and my husband just isn't. Part 3 is up. My husband demands I show him my coochie so that he can check me for STDs. Disclaimer, is not my story time, it was sending me on Instagram. His insecurity kept growing day by day. One day I come home from hanging out with my girlfriends and he says, pull your panties down. I thought he was just trying to like hook up with me. So I did it. He then spreads my legs, grabs his flashlight, and starts checking me. Not just on the outside, literally putting his fingers inside and checking. He even tasted and smelled his fingers. Then he took a picture and notes. I asked him why he was doing that and he said, I'm gonna start checking you every single week. Then he said, put your underwear back on. I felt extremely violated. Then I told him to never touch me like that again. Then he said, I'll take your credit card away if you don't behave. I was shooketh. Like I said in part 1, I'm treated like a queen. He's always paid for everything and we live in a really beautiful house. I'm not about to lose that kind of life. Since then, he's been checking me once a week. So I decided to start cheating. I'm not gonna let him get away with that. And I'm not gonna get an STD because I'm not stupid. And guess what? My husband barely touches me. He could have just left us having an open relationship and none of this would have happened. I don't want to live like this and I don't want to get a divorce. How can I convince him to have an open relationship again? What should I do?
My husband would choose his girl best friend over me any day. I, 29 female, got married a year ago yesterday. My husband and I have been together for 5 years in total. My husband has been best friends with Sasha, 30 female, since they were in diapers. I knew that I never really had a problem with their friendship until my husband and I officially started dating. Sasha would always try and get between us, and every single date we went on, she was there coincidentally, which was relatively annoying because my husband would let her stay with us on all of those dates. Now, yesterday was my wedding anniversary, and my husband forgot since he had a road trip with Sasha. I didn't know about this trip until he said he was leaving. I didn't bother telling him it was our anniversary since he didn't remember, and he would probably still spend the day with Sasha, even if he did know. I didn't bother telling him bye. I just walked out and decided I was going to go shopping and do something for myself. I did that, but then his mother called me during the day wishing me a happy anniversary and asked where my husband was because he wasn't answering his phone. I told her the truth about his whereabouts, and he didn't remember our anniversary. She was shocked and told me that she didn't think Sasha and my husband still had feelings for each other. I asked, what did she mean? She said that they did date in high school, but my husband told me that he never did like Sasha romantically. Everything started becoming more clear now. Maybe he did remember our anniversary, but chose not to say anything because he loved Sasha. If he loved her, he could have told me before we got married. I would have been hurt, but I understand feelings, and I know you can't control them. I don't know how to comprehend anything right now. I'm numb, and I don't get it. All I know is that my husband doesn't even love me.
I personally wouldn't be in that marriage.
I'd be done.
Yeah.
You don't remember our first anniversary?
That's enough for me.
I'm surprised. And, you know, everyone has their own relationships, but it really sounds like Sasha has been the third wheel from the beginning. Like, she would coincidentally show up on every date. I wouldn't have gotten past the dating stage.
I agree.
I don't want to have to compete with someone for my partner.
Yeah.
Call me old-fashioned.
I think that's enough for me. Like, on on your anniversary, not only he forgot, but he's spending his anniversary with not you.
Why aren't they dating? And I get like having close friends of the opposite sex or just different, you know, friends. But if you're spending a lot of time with your friend and you're willing to throw important dates with your partner out the window, why aren't you just with your friend?
I, 22 female, I'm getting married soon. Since my fiance and I are child-free, and because we plan to have alcohol at our wedding, we decided to have a child-free wedding with the age cutoff of 21. I do have one friend, Mel, 20 female, that I had to exclude from the wedding. She confronted me and demanded to know why she wasn't invited. I tried to explain that it wasn't personal and that I just didn't want to have to worry about underage drinking going on under my nose on my wedding day. But Mel kept accusing me of being a bad friend. She argued that since we had drank together before, it shouldn't be such a big deal, but I told her that it was different, since we were both underage at the time. Now as an adult, I feel like I have a responsibility to prevent underage drinking, and as the bride, I feel like I have the right to have a child-free wedding. Mel is unconvinced and keeps talking bad about me behind my back and making snarky comments about me feeling superior. I don't see why she can't relax and let me have my wedding day the way I like it. My girlfriend and I were having dinner at a restaurant when she got a text from her best friend who recently gave birth, and she said, "Oh my god, she had a C-section." She works as a nurse, so she then explained to me the type of incision they made for her and that how it will leave a scar. I then, as a joke, said, "At least you'll still be tight down there." My girlfriend looked confused and said that was a weird comment to make about her friend. I then said it's a very normal joke to make, and she disagreed. There was some back and forth. I asked her to drop it and she kept trying to talk about it. I said to her, "You're so insecure." And then she goes, "Does it make you feel good to call me that?" So then I got really frustrated, got up and walked out of the restaurant and drove home. She called me several times, but I was so frustrated and just wanted to get home, so I turned my phone off. Am I in the wrong for walking out on her and leaving her there for being frustrated? I'm a working parent who values the importance of a consistent sleep schedule for my child. I've always been specific with the daycare staff about my child's nap schedule and needs, and it's important for her health and happiness to have a consistent routine. My child has been attending the same daycare for a few months now. I noticed that her nap schedule was being disrupted and I couldn't figure out why. I suspected the daycare staff were not following my instructions properly. I decided to set up a meeting with the daycare director to discuss my concerns. During the meeting, I found out that the staff were not adhering to Emma's nap schedule and were instead trying to make all the children nap at the same time, regardless of their individual needs. I was furious and expressed my disappointment in the staff's lack of attention to my child's needs. Now the daycare staff are mad at me and the director thinks I'm overreacting. I feel that my child's well-being and development are being compromised and I'm not being heard.
My ex-wife came out as lesbian and left me and my daughters 3 years ago, and now she's back. 3 years ago, my wife came out as lesbian. We've been together for many years. In fact, our oldest daughter was 14 at the time and my youngest was 10. Our life was good, both me and my wife worked, so we had stable finances and I thought we were happy. This was until one evening my wife sat us down and explained that she was in love with a female colleague from her workplace, and she wants to be with her. She said she was sorry, but she had to find out who she was and that the only way that would be possible is if she left her old life behind. The typical breakup nonsense. On that day, she left us and cut contact. For me and my daughters, the world fell apart. I knew that I now had to take care of my daughters all by myself. I was in a state of depression for a long time, and I kept fighting for my daughters. Every attempt to contact my ex-wife failed. Luckily, I found a much better paying job that made it possible for me to give them the world. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, my daughters and I sat in the living room and I told them that because Christmas month was already next month, they should write down what they want for Christmas. My oldest daughter is now 17 and my youngest is now 13. While they were busy writing, the doorbell rang and I wondered who it was. When I opened the front door, I froze in shock. It was my ex-wife with a big smile on her face. She said she was happy to see me and she tried to hug me, but I refused to hug her. My oldest daughter then came up behind me and asked who it was, and when she saw it was her mother, her face expression immediately changed. I've never seen her so angry. My ex-wife tried to apologize, and she wanted to hug her, but my daughter pushed her away and shouted at her to leave, and that she never ever wants to see her again. Then my youngest daughter also joined us. She got angry too, turned around and went to her bedroom. Then my oldest one followed her to comfort her. I just hope she leaves us alone. My daughters made it very clear that they don't want to have anything to do with her. I wanted to give them the opportunity to meet their mother again, because if there is any chance that my children have a mother again, I don't want to stay in their way. But I'm glad they didn't give her the chance. I don't know if it makes me a bad person to think this, but I also don't think that my ex-wife deserves to be with her daughters again. So I hope that the last encounter delivered the message.